everyone, and welcome to Coast Connections. We're in for a real treat today. We're going sailing. We're connecting with a group of 6 sailing enthusiasts and also history buffs who recently circumnavigated Vancouver Island, doing a time travel, looking at the history and heritage and also the beauty and awesome scenery that we have along our 3,400 kilometer coastline. Joining me today, we have the captain of the sailing ship. We've got Captain Mark Taylor. Welcome, Mark. How are you?
Hi. I'm good, thanks.
We caught you on land here, not at sea.
That's right.
And your co-captain was Andrew Gunson. Hello, Andrew. Welcome to Coast Connections.
Oh, Elizabeth, thank you very much for having us. It's a pleasure being here.
Thanks, guys, for making time for this interview. Now, this was actually a sailing trip to start a 4-part trip of a documentary series that you're going to be making. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
And the series is going to be turned into, I think, some books as well, and other promotional items to promote the history here on Vancouver Island. And Andrew, I understand that you're also working with local museums and historical societies and collecting some of the information on your sailing adventure.
Yeah, that's correct. I have, and we have had a previous association with maritime societies, historical societies. I have a background with the Underwater Archaeological Society of British Columbia, who have offered their assistance in our project. They seem excited about it. We're looking forward to that. We have a history professor and historian who will be consulting with us and in the initial stages of our project. But I like to sort of define who we kind of are here, is that we are a consortium of 3 businesses which came together. We all obviously have a joint interest in all of this. You know, we have Terra Marine Industries, which is owned and operated by Mark and Terry Taylor. We have Marina Sack, the owner and editor of Take 5 magazine and digital media as well, and then my own little company and business, which is AJ's Industries and SV Mayatla, Adventures in Seafaring Literature. So we brought all our talents together, all our resources, and we're really excited about this project. Going forward, and like I said, there's other entities which are bringing their expertise as well, and we're really grateful for that.
Very good. That's a very impressive team. And I understand it was 6 people that were aboard the sailing vessel Kristi's Joy. And we've got a lovely video clip here, some drone footage of Kristi's Joy just coming along the coastline here. And Captain Mark, that's your boat. Tell us a little bit about her, who she is, and how long you've had her.
She's Kristi's Joy is 63 feet long. She's a ferrocement boat built by Harold Tribe. This was his last boat that he built. So I think Kristi is the name of his wife. So this was their boat. And I'm the 3rd owner. I've had it for 20 years. I got it when I turned 40. That was my first midlife crisis. I've had a sports car as well. That was the second one. So, yeah, no, I've had it for 20 years. I brought up 2 kids on it as well. It's quite roomy. It'll sleep up to eight adults comfortably. So yeah, we had lots of room. Nobody got in anybody's way for the whole trip.
What were the dynamics on board with COVID? Because you did this in the middle of the pandemic during the summer of 2020.
Yeah, they were fairly interesting. Most of us we considered ourselves quarantined ourselves. We'd been on the boat with each other for a total of 6 weeks, and we limited our contact to other people prior to coming on the boat. We didn't get to see a lot of places we planned on seeing because they were closed to the public, but we did find in the larger centers, even some of the smaller ones, that they were taking COVID quite seriously. Limiting the number of people into the stores, having to wear masks, hand sanitizing as well. So it was quite refreshing to see. And On board, the policy was if you went ashore at all, you wore a mask or at least carried it with you, and if requested, you wore a mask in stores or wherever you went. Everybody had their own hand sanitizer. We had tons of that on board, and like say, on and off the boat, you hand sanitized. So yeah, it was interesting. It was different.
Very good. I mean, you took those protocols very seriously, and nothing better than having a paramedic as your captain on a sailing boat too, I might add. So that's made it extra safe for everybody.
Yeah, at
Andrew,
least I
you
didn't have to.
yeah,
Go ahead.
Andrew, you provided a map of Vancouver Island to show the circumnavigation. And
Yes.
where did you guys start from? Where did you end? And how many kilometers did you travel?
Well, initially we started off in Ladysmith. This is where the boat's permanently moored, but we shifted the vessel up to Nanaimo to put it into the shipyard for a haul out for a refit, which took a lot longer than we anticipated. So as a result, we were late departing Nanaimo a solid week. So we had to revamp our schedule a little bit, bypass a few of the sites we wanted to hit in the Georgia Strait and such. So we moved on. But we basically went from Nanaimo straight up to Campbell River, did a little videography there, and our first real kick at the cat, if you want to say, was the shipwrecked Columbia. We visited the site of the shipwrecked Columbia. We did some diving on that wreck, which is just located a few miles north of Campbell River behind Maud Island at Seymour Narrows. So we spent a day there diving the wreck, getting some good video. From there, it was up through Seymour Narrows to Johnstone Strait, and we kind of beelined it up to York Island. And we spent a couple of days there documenting that island and exploring. We met some great park rangers there, and that was an interesting voyage or trip. And then we from there it was a beeline straight to Port Hardy. Unfortunately, we had to pass a lot of the native communities which we wanted to visit. They requested that we didn't stop. They didn't want us ashore, so we respected that. And unfortunately, we passed by. We're hoping to go back next year after COVID's over and pick up what we missed this time around. And from after Port Hardy, it was the top end of the island, Bull Harbor area, where we made a jump off into Queen Charlotte Sound and over top of Vancouver Island. From the top end of Vancouver Island, we basically headed straight offshore with some difficulty with weather in the lake. And we went to visit the notorious Triangle Island, which is about 26 miles off the coast. It's just an incredible place. We can talk about that more later if you like. And we spent the day there doing some picture taking, and then we moved over to back down to the mainland of Vancouver Island and to a place called Sea Otter Cove, which proved to be a spectacular place, and we got a real treat there. From there, it was down to Rugged Point, a provincial park, about midway down the west coast of Vancouver Island. Just once again, a beautiful spot, wild, and we overnight there. We left early in the morning to try and beat a weather front that was coming in. We got chased down to Hesquet Inlet and Boat Harbor there, and that was an interesting answer. We spent the previous 24 hours in basically gale force winds, and we had some vessel damage en route, and we pulled into the bay. It's not really a harbor, it's just an open bay, about 1 o'clock in the morning, and sleet and rain and extremely poor visibility, but we managed to find safe haven in there for the rest of the night. Is that
where you encountered some engine trouble, or was that where the Coast Guard was helping you out?
No, that was further down the coast. We had multiple issues with mechanical problems, mainly with the anchor windlass, getting the anchor up and down. I spent a great deal of time inside the chain locker doing repairs on the anchor windlass. Um, but for the most part, the boat did extremely well, and very, very pleased. There was only a couple systems that gave us a bit of an issue.
And Mark, then you arrived back in Ladysmith. Was it six weeks later from
Yeah,
that?
6 weeks. Yeah, 6 weeks later. Yeah.
And no sailing trip is ever good without, some good stories and misadventures. But I understand that you did have an encounter with the Coast Guard.
We did. We were coming into Tofino. We left Hesquith early in the morning because there was another gale coming. So we thought we'd leave early because it was forecast to be off the west coast of Vancouver Island that afternoon. So we were coming down into Tofino, and I think it was Colborne Channel we turned into, and the engine hesitated. It sounded like we had plugged fuel filters, but it started again before I had a chance to go and have a look. Because of course it does it when we're committed to the channel and we got rocks on all sides. So it was not the best, but it kept going. And then about half hour, 45 minutes later, as we were coming across the top of Vargas Island there, the propane alarm started to go off on the boat. And there was a strong smell of diesel in the boat. So I kept trying to shut the propane off. It wouldn't go off. So then I had to go and have a look. I lifted up the floorboards, and lo and behold, there was a shower of diesel fuel everywhere, all over me, everywhere. So I popped it back down, told Andy that we got a fuel leak. I looked into the bilge, and it's full. I thought it was full of water, but it actually was full of diesel fuel. So I said, we need to head over, to the far side over there so we can anchor and see if we can repair this. And then we made a right turn, and then there was a bit of miscommunication on my part and Andy's part, because we were going to go over to the right side of the channel to anchor to make repairs. And I thought Andy said, drop the anchor. So I did. And we ended up being right on anchored on top of a reef, which ended up causing a little bit of controversy. We were able to get it up. There was a native guide that came out from the island and guided us off. Luckily, we didn't get stuck on the reef. And then we went.
Very lucky.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then we ended up going over there, and we called the Coast Guard and said, we're a 63-foot vessel. We have a major fuel leak. I've had another look. We're taking on water, but it appears to be minor. So we're going to head over. I can't remember the name of the bay because it looked like on the chart that it had a mooring buoy in it. So we were going to head over there and tie up to the mooring buoy to effect repairs. And they said, well, we have a fast response boat in the area. They'll meet us over there. So they did. And we shut down. We ended up having to anchor there just because there was no mooring buoy there. And then Andy and I tried to fix the fuel leak. It came to the point where we couldn't fix it because there was the fuel line between the fuel filters, which connects onto the engine. And it was a metal piece, and it had cracked there. So, and we didn't have the parts to fix it. So the Coast Guard said, it's your lucky day. The commercial towing service is busy in the Broken Group, so we can tow you to Tofino. So that's what they did. They towed us to Tofino, set us up at the commercial dock in Tofino. And then we effected repairs for, was it 3 days? Yeah, I think it was 3 days it took us to repair 92 liters of diesel fuel in the bilge by the time it was all said and done.
For the Coast Guard, and I'm really grateful that you guys had a good ending to that because it could have been disastrous. Andrew, you mentioned York Island. You went to some of these very cool spots that I've never heard of, and I've lived on the island many, many, many years. York Island, you've got some lovely drone footage here. It's a World War II site that was set up to help defend Vancouver Island in Canada during the Second World War, and it's now an historical site. tell us a little bit about this drone footage and what you folks saw there at York Island.
Oh, well, it's yeah, as you say, it's a very fascinating place, and most people don't know anything about it. It was first started construction in 1938, and as you indicated, it was to protect the back door into Vancouver from invasion. And so the military decided they're going to put two large gun emplacements. This is the video which you're going to be looking at. This is the footings for one of the big guns. There was two large guns on the island. There was anti-aircraft batteries as well, and machine gun nests to help deter the local fishermen from bypassing without checking in. So it was a heavily armed island. I believe at its peak it had between 250 and 300 personnel on board or on the island. There was an officer's quarters. There's enlisted men barracks. The island's full of old abandoned bunkers and munition storing facilities and I-beam set up for the moving of munitions. There was an old parade ground there, which was really interesting to see. If you didn't know it was a parade ground at this point in time, you wouldn't recognize it as such. There's small trees growing all over it, and if it weren't for the fence perimeter that's still there, it would be very hard to picture what that area was, but it's mostly overgrown. There's still a lot of barbed wire and fencing crisscrossing the island. I'm just
going to interject there, Andrew, because it was actually, you were there in August of 2020, which was just after the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II. So it was quite significant that you were actually on that property at that time. So that's really cool. And Mark, I just want to talk to you a little bit about Triangle Island. And it's one of the biggest bird colonies in BC that are there. And there's some really interesting drone footage that Andrew has provided here as we're heading into, it looks like a very scarred rock face, like a mountain face coming out of the water. But I think those are bird colonies on there, is it not?
They are. And on the beach there, it's a sea lion rookery. So all that, the brown, rugged looking material on the beach is actually sea lions.
Wow.
Yeah.
One of the largest rookeries on the coastline. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the noise was deafening. Even from where we were, it was loud. Yeah.
And the noise of the sea lions, is that?
Yeah. Yeah. The sea lions actually that's all you could hear was the sea lions. You couldn't actually hear the birds for the noise of the sea lions. Yeah. It was an amazing place. Yeah.
It looks kind of eerie. I think it's called the Forbidden Island. I can sort of see why.
Yeah, it's very rugged. It's amazingly beautiful. It reminds me of the Galapagos Islands. It's the same sort of, except ruggedness and the greenery of the island. It looks almost like a Galapagos Island. Yeah, it's amazingly beautiful and well worth the effort it took to get there.
Good. And any Indigenous communities highlights? I know that part of your documentary that you're going to be doing is highlighting the heritage here of the Indigenous people who've been on the island for 10,000 years, long before any European explorers came. And I think it's the Tukwat people of the Nuchelnath Nation have been on Vancouver Island the longest. So any Indigenous stops on this leg of the
like because of COVID, most of all the Indigenous stops got curtailed till next year. But we did stop in Hesketh Bay and went into the boat basin where Cougar Annie was. We did that. I do not know the name of the Indigenous nation that rules that area, but they did want us to leave the area at one point in time, about 4:00 in the afternoon. They asked us to leave, and I said to them over the radio, we can't leave. Like it's becoming dark, and we don't know the area, and we'll leave in the morning. So that's basically what happened with them. We respected them. We did not go ashore. And they did ask us to leave, so we couldn't even go to Hot Springs Cove either, for the simple fact that it was closed due to COVID. So
exactly. Andrew, what surprised you? What are one of the biggest surprises about this journey that you weren't expecting? Was it some underwater photography that you did, or any other aspect?
Yes, well, the underwater photography was interesting, and I really enjoy that. But maybe if I go back to the Indigenous people portion of this, is that one of the things that did surprise me. We were in an area which I won't mention right now, scoping out the next set of dives on a wreck site, and we'd anchor for a night in a little bay, and that afternoon, Mark and I went exploring just along the shoreline stuff.
Yeah.
And while we were, combing the beach and looking inland, I come across a small cave opening, and I decided to crawl in and have a look. I like doing spelunking. Mark decided he didn't want to go spelunking today and stayed outside while I crept in and had a look. And I was shocked and amazed when I got to the back of the cave. Apparently, we had stumbled on an ancient burial site. There were, quick estimate, approximately 9 skeletal remains in the cave. Like I said, I was kind of stunned and a little lost what to do at that point, and just it took me a minute to sort of pull my wits together and go, okay, what now, right? I just had a quick look and apologized to the occupants of the cave for any intrusion and promised not to disturb anything, and bye. And I backed out. By the time I got back outside, I was obviously rather excited and a little unnerved at the same time. Told Mark what I just witnessed, and he decided to take my word for it and not check it out for himself. So we returned back to the vessel and told our counterparts, and so we left the cave as is. And for obvious reasons, I can't disclose the location.
Well, that was very respectful of you, and also quite a shock to the system to walk in on that in a cave.
Yes.
And Vancouver Island has some of the highest number of caves in North America. That's another thing that there's a lot of exploring to do underground. But how about you, Mark? What was one of the things that surprised you most about this adventure?
You know what? It was actually the scope of it, the distance. You don't really realize the distances until you're actually out there and have to cover them. I thought that 6 weeks was more than enough time to cover it. And you know what? It wasn't. I could have used another month. It was the distance was the most amazing part, and how much time it actually takes to cover the distance. You don't really understand or realize it until you're actually trying to do it.
Exactly. And we've got, Vancouver Island is the largest island off the coast of North America. And I think I mentioned at the outset, 34,000 kilometers of coastline. And I think you fellas did 800 kilometers on this leg.
940, I think, is total. Yeah.
Lots to explore.
Yeah.
So this is, as I mentioned, part 1 of a 4-part adventure series to build the footage for the documentary. And I think you called this one your shakedown trip.
That's right.
Search your sea legs and get a sense of what you're in for. What does part 2 look like, and 3 and 4? I understand it's 1 year intervals you're going to be doing this.
That's right. I think next year we're just going to try and revisit some of the places we couldn't get to this year, mostly on the Inside Passage. I think Sontul is on the list, and what else? I think also we're going to go up into Princess Louisa and Desolation Sound as well. The year after, I think, is it's Ladysmith to Ketchikan, and then
are you heading to Alaska?
Yeah, we're heading to Alaska for the 3rd year, and then from there we'll bring the boat back to Prince Rupert for the winter, and then we're going to head up to Anchorage for year 4, and then back down revisit the West Coast on the way back down in year 4. So everything we missed, hopefully on this trip, we'll be able to see again on year 4 on the West Coast. So hopefully COVID will be over, so all the communities that we couldn't go to, we'll be able to go to. So yeah, that's what the next 4 years looks like.
And Andrew, you're an accomplished author in your own right, and you've got your fourth book, Travel Adventure, being launched this year. And I understand you'll also be doing a book about this sailing adventure that is taking place. Is that correct?
Oh, yes. I have every intention to produce actually a series of books about our adventures. There's so many good stories and so many things to tell. And unfortunately, Vancouver Island is mostly only accessible by either boat or airplane, and most people who live here never get an opportunity to see these jewels that surround us. We have some plans to produce some picture books, some coffee table books as well, because the imagery is just so spectacular. You can't appreciate it without seeing it.
Well, thank you so much for your contribution to bringing the Vancouver Island history and the land, sea, and the peoples of Vancouver Island to us who can't hop on a sailboat and go out there. And Mark, thank you so much for leading a very successful first leg of this adventure. I'm glad that one of the shipwrecks that Andrew was diving down to wasn't yours.
Me too. Thank you. Yeah.
We wish you, fair seas and calm winds on your next leg, and we look forward to having you back to tell us a little bit more about the next adventure here. And I just want to say thanks a yacht for participating with us today on Coast Connections.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Ahoy. And thank you for joining us on this edition of Coast Connections. We hope that you get out to see Vancouver Island in your own way during COVID. You may not be able to sail the coastline like these adventurous folks did, but there's plenty to see in our own backyards. Stay safe and be well, and we'll see you next time on Coast Connections. Thank you.